Hello and welcome to the Villarreal update by Villarreal USA with me, Jamie Campbell. A preview video for you today ahead of Villarreal's clash with Mallorca on Friday night. Villarreal, of course, going into this one on the back of an opening weekend defeat to Real Betis, a crushing late defeat after conceding deep into stoppage time. Mallorca come into this one on the back of a 1-1 draw with Las Palmas. Mallorca, of course, enjoyed a very good season last season, just missing out on Europe and finishing, I think it was 14 points behind Villarreal, which is a fine record for a team who have been up and down over the last few years. I don't want to focus too much on Mallorca today. It's very early in the season to be even delving into Villarreal's tactics, really, but especially Mallorca, who we obviously know a lot less about. So we'll need to see more of teams, I think, to be diving into their kind of tactical background ahead of these early games. So I thought we'd focus on three Villarreal topics and three things we want to see in this game as Villarreal look to take a step forward in a pretty important game when you factor in the fact that the Yellows have to play Barcelona at home after this one. And so failure to pick up a win could leave Villarreal on 1 or perhaps 0 points after 3 games, although of course you never know what's going to happen against Barca, especially at home. So the first thing we want to see, I think, is defensive organisation. Now, Villarreal didn't do too badly on this front against Real Betis, but they showed some real weaknesses when being caught on the break. Villarreal dominated possession, but there were times when Real Betis got forward quickly, including the final and the winning goal of the game. And in that circumstance, Villarreal had plenty of players back in their own half at the time, back in their box even, but still failed to cut out the header from William Jose that won the game. And I think this speaks to a problem Villarreal have had at times under Quique Setién. Setién is a lot more gung-ho, I would say, than Unai Emery was at Villarreal. He offers a lot more attacking freedoms, and that can provide problems, especially on the break. And Betis really exploited those, I thought. When they got forward, Villarreal took too long to get settled at the back, and that's perhaps a symptom of losing Pau Torres, of a kind of instability at the back. Real Albiol's had injury problems as well, of course. Villarreal have to do a better job of getting organised. There are going to be times when they're caught on the break, especially with this kind of more attacking style under Setién. But if they're going to get caught, they have to get back and they have to get settled and organised quickly. So when those crosses do come into the box, there's an organised marking system to pick up those strikers who are breaking into the box, those kind of attacking midfielders who are running in between the lines. So we need to see that more defensive organisation of Villarreal going to sustain being able to attack regularly in games and not concede too many goals, as they did at times last season. The second thing, I think, it has to be creativity from wide positions. Of course, this is something Villarreal have suffered with perhaps as a consequence of losing Samu Chukwueze. I haven't seen Yeremy Pino yet either, so there's more to come, and I think Villarreal do need to strengthen out wide, even if that's just a depth player to create more competition out there, because that front line is still very decent front line with Gerard Moreno. We have Jose Luis Morales came off the bench and Baena played in the wide position against Betis, but there's just a real lack of creativity from those wide positions and in general in attack, because Villarreal had plenty of opportunity. I think it was 18 shots during the game, 5 of those were on target, but they're not creating clear-cut opportunities, or not enough clear-cut opportunities. And again, there are factors to this, with Nicholas Jackson having great success in front of goal towards the end of last season, where he's got the pace to go and get in behind defences and create those one-on-ones with the talent Villarreal have in midfield. But there's a change of system now with Alexander Sorloth coming in. He's not the player who's going to make those runs, and Villarreal have to adapt to play to Sorloth's style, and part of that has to be to create more from the wings. I mean, there's no point having a tall, physical striker who can win headers if you're not going to put balls in the box, and Villarreal have been reluctant to do that over the last number of years, I would say, particularly under Emery. He was always working the ball slowly into the box. We've seen that continue a little bit under Setién as well. We haven't seen enough early crosses into the box where these defenders are not expecting the early ball. Of course, it can be predictable if you do it regularly, and Villarreal are a build-up team. They are a team who like to play with the ball at their feet, but that's not always going to suit Sorloth. While he can play the hold-up role and bring people into play, control the ball, drop it off, I'm sure he is a player who's going to prefer get on the end of crosses, and that's the advantage he ultimately holds over his defenders, over his markers. He's not the player who's going to beat them for pace. So we're going to struggle to create opportunities if we're not getting those crosses into the box and not creating more from out wide. And of course, Gerard Moreno has a role to play in that. He's played in a wide position plenty of times for Villarreal, and arguably that's where we've seen the best of him, cutting in from that right-hand side. So it'd be nice to see him getting more involved as well. And of course, he's regaining full fitness as well. So I think we'll see the best of him as the season goes on, as he kind of regains that full match fitness and that match sharpness. But we need to see more from him. And that leads us on to the final point, the final thing for me that I want to see from Villarreal this weekend. And that is simply one player, Ben Brereton-Diaz. Let's get a look of that new signing. Of course, a free signing from Blackburn Rovers, a player involved in so many goals last season, be it through goals, assists, or just build-up play. And again, he can help solve the problem I mentioned just now. He's a player who thrives out wide. I think we spoke to a Blackburn reporter recently, and the best of him has come out wide. He's not a striker, and so he can be put in one of those front three roles. Arguably, I think Baena should be dropped back into creative midfield role. And we can see, aside from Yeremy Pino, a competition between Pino and Brereton-Diaz play alongside Moreno and Solot. Or alternatively, if Villarreal game is not going to suit Solot, then he could play a supplementary role from the bench, and a front line of Gerard, Brereton-Diaz and Yeremy Pino doesn't sound so bad at all. So I'd like to see we didn't bring Ben Brereton-Diaz off the bench against Real Betis, which was really disappointing for me, especially with the struggles that Villarreal had in creating good opportunities. Look, this is a different kind of player, and a player who's going to take time to adapt to this kind of style of play. I think it's going to take time for him to be used to getting so many passes in before creating an opportunity. That's kind of Villarreal's style, and probably much more of a style across La Liga than it is across the Premier League or Championship, as Brereton-Diaz was playing in. But also with that, his kind of different approach to the game can really benefit Villarreal, I feel. He's got that kind of, wrong word maybe, brutality about him, that physical style, but also a very good technical player who can take shots from outside the box. Another thing we haven't seen enough of over the last couple of years. He will put crosses in. He'll even get in the end of crosses. And he's an attacking player, the Villarreal I like, and pretty much everyone is excited by. So let's get a look of him and to see the impact he can have on this Villarreal attack, which is so far, and of course it's a small sample size, but if you use pre-season as well, a Villarreal attack that has so far struggled to create good opportunities. And if you're going to compete for European places, Europa League or Champions League, whatever it may be, Villarreal are going to have to create better opportunities, because at the moment they look, even though they're creating more chances in opposition, this is something we saw last season, even with creating more opportunities, they look more likely to concede than they are to score, because of the quality of the chances they're creating and the quality of the chances they're giving up due to not getting settled at the back and being caught on the break. So let's hope we see some of those three things from Villarreal against Mallorca on Friday night. It's a nice time to play a game, gives us all the nice weekend off perhaps, but let's see what they can create against what is a very organised and a very good Mallorca side on the evidence of last season. So thanks for joining us. We'll be back hopefully on the weekend, hopefully on Saturday. If not, then it'll be early on Monday with a kind of recap of the game in more depth. And we'll have a quick video on Friday night, a short recap of the game on Twitter, and then on YouTube a more extensive look perhaps on Saturday or Monday morning. So join us then, and fingers crossed Villarreal can finally get that first win of the season against Mallorca. And in the meantime, of course, don't forget to subscribe and check out the website at Villarreal USA for more informed and long form content.